Hey, all my Sagittarius friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your March 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology, and they're based on the Pacific time zone. If you are familiar with your chart and you know how to put it in the Placidus house system, and you have a late degree rising sign, late degree Sagittarius rising sign, this is going to be significant because it's going to push all of your first house into the 12th house, and it will make your first house more Capricorn. So I would pay attention to that if you're more familiar with astrology, more familiar with your natal chart. But for all intents and purposes, for such a large group of people, we're going to do this in whole sign. So when I talk about a house, I'm basing that on Sagittarius rising. This is also applicable to Sagittarius moon, Sagittarius sun. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Sagittarius, this video is also very applicable to you. So let's jump in because March is really a ramping up. We're going to feel even more intensity in the energy of Jupiter and Uranus coming together. This month, we're going to experience our first eclipse of 2024. But before we get there, we continue the conversation that was going on at the end of February between Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury in Pisces. Pisces is your 4th house of home. So this really is going to speak to potentially your childhood, how you were perceived, your ego, how you asserted yourself within your home. And Saturn rules our history. So you could find yourself really sort of reviewing your childhood, how it supported you, how it may have even challenged you. And at the same time, I believe that Saturn is also asking you to have a conversation about rooting deeply into your connection with the divine. Sagittarius is quite an interesting sign because it houses 2 very powerful points within the Shapley cluster. It houses the great attractor as well as the galactic center. The great attractor is at 14 degrees of Sagittarius and a few minutes, and the galactic center is at 27 degrees. If you have any personal planets where your sun is in this, around these 2 points, there's orbs. I think the galactic center is a 3 to 5 degree orb, where the great attractor is a 5 to 10 degree orb. I'm doing that off the top of my head, but this is significant to your soul's journey in this lifetime. And I say that because as we're reviewing your 4th house activity, as Saturn is saying, where has there been maybe a feeling of not being seen, a feeling of not being acknowledged for whatever your talents are, maybe not even feeling smart enough. The Mercury rules our siblings, it rules our everyday communications, it rules basically our everyday lives and teaching, speaking, writing. In the 4th house of Pisces, you could have felt very, in some ways, isolated in the home. You could have come from a very religious home in some respects, but regardless of that, at this juncture, this is an opportunity to start to pull these planets into their higher vibration. Many people say that when a planet is near the sun, it is combust, and yet Mercury and Mars and Venus are never far from the sun. They're always within a few houses or signs. So to me, this is really an opportunity to look at how I think. And am I standing in leadership for myself? Am I coming from my heart? Am I having the courage to look at my history, look at where I've been, maybe even look where I felt repressed, where I felt authority or somebody was not acknowledging me. And now I get to use that as a platform for my strength, for my ambition. This Saturn very much rules leadership and ambition and drive and building in the material world. Mercury rules our communities, our neighborhoods, our workmates, our teammates. So you could very much transform your whole childhood experience, home life experience, maternal experience, and turn that into the roots that build a fabulous tree for your moving forward. Maybe it's creatively, it could be done in the way of The 12th house of Pisces rules hotels, therefore hospitality. So you may find yourself drifting into something that feels dreamy and hospitable as a result of your childhood experience. And just because Saturn is there, it does not mean that it has to be negative. Oftentimes we tend to go to the dark side of each one of these signs and planets because that's how the human structure rolls. And having this be in your fourth house, you know, our childhood is the basis for how we perceive ourselves moving forward. So let's go a little further into the month. Or my notes here, hold on. I'm going to jump actually to the 10th. This is the new moon in Pisces, and this is going to be the 5th new moon. But before that happens, we will see that Mercury has entered Aries. So the conversation that Mercury was having with the Sun and Saturn just a few weeks ago is now starting to individualize. It's starting to give me an opportunity to think about, what do I want for myself? It could even be something where, you know, Aries is the 5th house for you. It's a creative house. It's a house that also encompasses a childlike energy. It rules the conception of children. It rules the performer. It rules the clown. It rules leadership. It rules entertainment, joy, fun, romance. So here, I think with Mercury moving in here now, there's a real opportunity for Sagittarius to start to think about musings of what you want, how to be a hero in your own life. Mercury's going to go over the North Node. That's going to create a really strong energy of wanting to build something new for yourself, to feel the power of your own co-creation. And Mercury's going to go over this transit in Chiron, which, you know, could potentially bring up some wounds. But I also think that as a result of the conversation earlier in the month, that we could transform that wound into a gift. And it's as a result of individualizing myself rather than homogenizing myself, or allowing myself to use the platform of what has been to grow something new. Let's go to the time of the new moon, which is at 1 a.m. Pacific time. And this is significant to me because I like to layer some various astrologers' theories, and the degree theory is very powerful for me because I've noticed over the last few years series of degrees, like new moons or full moons. And here we have the 5th new moon in a row at the 20th degree, which is the Scorpionic degree, which is the Pluto degree of transformation. We were just talking about your 5th house. Here we can see that at the time of the new moon, this, at least in the Pacific time, Sagittarius is here in the rising sign. So we see this planetary activity here in your 4th and your 5th house. And I think this is an opportunity to really plant the seeds for something that you want to grow over the next couple of years. As Saturn is traversing through your 4th house, I feel as if, you know, both the Pisces and Saturn rule history in different ways. Pisces rules a sort of unconscious ancestral history, a soul's imprint, whereas Saturn rules history of your life or history of the human. So here we have a real opportunity to, again, look at what has been and use that as a platform for building rather than pulling me under and holding me back. And this Mercury moving into the sign of Aries feels, yeah, maybe slightly hot, maybe a little bit like, you know, I really want to move on with my life, with where I want to go. And this is a real opportunity to plant those seeds from an emotional level, not from a rational level, from a level of what can be versus what you have seen traditionally or historically. We also see that Mars is here just randomly at the 20th degree. So here in Aquarius, this is interesting to me. If we click on Mars, we see that Mars is making a sextile to Chiron. Chiron is the wound that we carry. Mars rules Aries. There could very well be an opportunity. Oops, sorry. there could very well be an opportunity that as you plant the seeds for something new, something that seems dreamy, something that seems almost whimsical or fanciful, in recreating your maternal experience, your home life. It could even be about your country, about your home of origin, and being brave in allowing yourself to birth that, being the hero in your own life. I think that's really powerful. We also see Venus is about to move into her exaltation in just a few days. So let's go there. I'm going to pop over to the 12th. And on the 12th, we see that Venus has moved into your first house. You know, for some reason, Sagittarius, I'm getting this feeling that there could also be some sort of creative endeavor that is inspired by your family. You know, the Wonder Years was inspired by a family. The Cosby Show was inspired by a family. Modern Family was inspired by a family. There could be something that happens within your mind, your soul, that, or it could even be doing some sort of creative thing within the home, interior design, painting, you know, something like that. You could be broadening something in that way. When a planet enters its exaltation, it enters a place where it is a welcomed guest. It is everybody's excited to see them. And we bring out all the special china, we roll out the red carpets, we fluff things up in ways that we don't normally do. And here Venus is entering dreamy Pisces. So you may find that your skills are really suited to working within a home environment in some way, you know, interior design. We also have this overlay of water with Pisces. So there could be the potential that you start to think about things either from an emotional place or from a place of wanting to create an environment that is emotionally soothing. I'd like to put it that way. So this is a really powerful time while Venus is in her exaltation. And in no short time, the sun will move into its exaltation. So let's go to the 19th. I'm actually going to jump to the 20th because at noon in the Pacific, I keep getting the day behind. So here we see that the sun has moved into your 5th house. And this is again a place where the sun is revered. Mars is the ruler of Aries. I always kind of think of Mars as the general to the king here of the sun. And I think this is really putting a spotlight on your individuality, how you want to experience your everyday life moving forward in this life. And we see the growing conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. And this is like, you know, astrologers are going to talk about this for ad nauseum for the first half of the year, but I think it's not just the first half of the year. It feels like whatever happens during this period of time, during this conjunction, which to me is starting here in March and going to go all the way through till the beginning, maybe even middle of May, before Jupiter actually moves into Gemini in, I think it's May 25th, 26th. So this is a powerful, long tentacles in the influence for liberation, for renovation, for genius ideas, for expansion in your business, in how you're marketing, potentially even publishing. When I was thinking about Sagittarius earlier and Mercury was over with Saturn and the sun at the beginning of the month, I kept feeling like there was definitely the potential of using your family as some sort of inspiration for writing, teaching, speaking. It could be an influencer, you know, your mama's recipes, who knows what, it could be a million different things. We also see that Pluto that has moved into Aquarius, and this is a very significant change for us all. Pluto is going to be here at this early degree of Aquarius, which for you, Scorpio, is your 3rd house of the 3rd house is teaching, writing, speaking. It's very mercurial. It's naturally a Gemini house. And I say this because this could really bring new things into your life. It's going to hover in this first couple degrees, and then in the fall this year, it's going to go back into Capricorn for just a wee bit and then come back into Aquarius for the next 20 years. So here, there's really an opportunity to dig deep into the imprint of the psychology of how people have. Pluto rules billionaires. It rules like the most rewarding aspects of the human experience, but it doesn't do that until we've conquered the psychological demons that allow other people to have power and control over us. So here, that is what Pluto has been doing while it was going through Capricorn. And now Pluto's ready to be like, let's birth a new me. And I don't know if anybody's ever watched the birth of a butterfly, but it is no easy journey. It is a feat of perilous feat of so many things that can happen to that butterfly before it is really ready to fly on its own wings. So I say that, Sagittarius, because this sun moving into its exaltation, still in a conversation with Neptune, feels a bit like, to me, like a sunset. Like I'm looking at the sun setting over the beautiful ocean, and it's giving me a dreamy idea of where I want to move in my the future days of my life, how I want to spend them, how they bring me joy, how they bring me a sense of creativity. Again, Aries is your 5th house of creation, and it naturally trines your 1st house. So that's a beautiful aspect. Let's go on to Venus. Will be in a conjunction with Saturn. Here we go. Here they are. Now, normally we think that Venus is a little dry when she is in conversation with Saturn, but when Venus was going through Capricorn in February, and I'm sorry, in January, and then in February, as she walked through Aquarius, she was really starting to think about, how can I use my skills? How can I stand on my own 2 feet? How can I create my own dynamic? And am I confident enough to trust that I am enough? And here is Saturn in the sign of spirituality saying, you know what? Let's create a strong platform for your individuality, your creativity. While it may be a little bit of a bumpy ride, because you're going to have to constantly ask yourself, Venus, do you believe? Can you trust something you can't see, you can't smell, you can't touch? While everybody else is sort of asking you how you're going to do it, can you trust that your inner compass will take you where you need to go? That is what this conversation is. It is intense. I think of it as a summit, almost as if these two come together. And Venus is not wearing her clickety-clackety shoes today. She's ready to roll up her sleeves and build a sense of security for herself that she can bring into her partnerships, into her feminine friendships, into her receptivity, and build it for long-standing. I almost want to say, because of the sign of Pisces, that this will take her lifetime into lifetime into lifetime into the future with a stronger foundation, even when she goes in that initial veil of unknowing. Her inner compass will be stronger. We also see that during this time, this little summit here is having a very nice conversation with Jupiter about expansion, about what wealth is. Is wealth just money, or is wealth a sense of flow? Venus naturally rules Taurus. She naturally rules our history with our family. We have Saturn, the planet that rules history and old age and father time. And then we have this house of Pisces that is also ancestral. A lot is being reframed. And now that reframing is like where the dark spots make the color pop. So I think this is a very powerful, powerful time as we're going further and further into the year and tighter into this conjunction that is going to bring something to us all and something of benefit. And it may rock our world at first, but it's one of those things that I think fear might have stopped us, but whatever this conjunction brings into our world, and for you, this is your 6th house of work. So Sagittarius, all that happens over here could literally bring you like new opportunities, a new business or a new level of your business, or a new platform to be able to reach others and to be able to really be of service in a much broader and expansive worldwide web type of way. Okay, now let's go over to the 22nd, where we see, well, it'll go a little later in the day. Let's say it's 7 p.m. All right, we see Mars has moved into Pisces. Now, Mars in Pisces, we don't really consider that a strong energy for Mars, but I find it funny sometimes how we as humans speak, because when we talk about Mars going into Pisces, immediately we think the fire is extinguished because the water puts it out. We put Mars in Aries or in any one of the fire signs, and Mars is ablaze. I believe that there is balance. I'm a Libra sun, and I'm ruled by Mars. So here, I believe Mars went through a period of time while it spent 7 months in Gemini in 22 and 23, the years. It learned something about communication, about being an inspiring leader, about being a hero versus a banshee. So I think that as Mars moves into Pisces, which is your fourth house, this is about being a hero in your own life. And again, about being a hero about your history. And I want to offer it this way, because if we are of the mindset that we co-create our lives. We co-create everything about our lives, our trials, our tribulations, our triumphs, our parents, our siblings, our socioeconomic status. So here, as we look at Saturn at 12 degrees, the Piscean degree, and here's Venus, she's starting to, she's going to mosey on down the road, but she's still having this conversation. And now she too wants to be brave about asserting the 2.0 version of herself, starting to extract Saturn's reward. And I believe that as Mars moves into your fourth house, this is about being brave in what sometimes things that make us feel unseen and unheard or undervalued also inspire us to step into a more rooted version of ourselves. That's the way I want to put it. All right, now let's get to the eclipse on the 25th. This is super powerful eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse at 1 a.m. Pacific time. Oh, sorry, 12 a.m. Pacific time. And we see that the moon is at 5 degrees of Libra. The supergalactic center is at 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra. And this is a significant point within the Shapley cluster, and it's relationship themed. And while we always think that relationships have to do with other humans, it's not necessarily the case. We have relationships with many things. And here the focus is on the relationship we have with ourselves. We're just talking about Venus. She's over here. She's still within orb to Saturn. She's taking the information. She's starting to absorb it as she's going to move on and connect with Neptune. And here's Mars moving through this house. At the time of the eclipse, this moon is going to call forth an illumination of some kind about self-care, about, am I taking care of my wants, my desires, all the facets of who I am, my mental body, my emotional body, my spiritual body, my unique expression and its creativity. And am I allowing that to contribute to my relationship or relationships? This could also, if you're in a situation that's been, challenged or has been shifting, this could really bring some sort of illumination. The other thing that can happen is that it could have a lot to do with justice. It could have something to do with a civil case. It could have something to do, your ruling planet Jupiter rules the Supreme Court. Libra rules police officers, people who keep the peace. I think it's judges and attorneys and people like that over here. So something could come to light regarding that. Something to do with business as well, business partnerships. I didn't refer to it, but a few days earlier, we had Mercury conjunct Chiron at 18 degrees. And this could illuminate the challenge that you felt with either the way you think or how people perceive the way you think, how smart you are. It could even present a challenge with a worker, coworker, sibling of some kind. And in that disruption, this illumination that the full moon has to offer continues to support your individuality and your unique expression and really, stretching to root that. That's what this is, rooting this this creativity. Here, your fifth house is where the fun is. And here we see the conjunction that is about to bring something unexpected, lightning. You know, it could be genius. It doesn't have to be physical. It could very much be an idea or an epiphany or something that blows something out that brings something better in. So this lunar eclipse, being within a few degrees of the supergalactic center. And the supergalactic center, if you have any planets or points, I happen to have my north node on the supergalactic center. So anything within 5 to 10 degrees of the supergalactic center is going to be influenced by this eclipse. This eclipse bringing an illumination of how or an inspired action or something to that effect. Okay, so that pretty much for me covers the rest of the month. We could go a few days later. And let me change the time back to 12 p.m. And we see that we're starting to really have a lot of concentrated energy going through Pisces, Aries. And now as we go into April, this is all going to move into Aries, Taurus, and then Gemini. So this is going to be the self, my skills, and birthing them into my community. So Sagittarius, this is a powerful time to not only gather information, but to really dig deep into what makes you happy, to look deeper than just money or just, you know, I want this much money, but to look, what does that money afford you, and start to focus in on that deeper layer. And then your ruling planet Jupiter could bring very a lot of expansion through something you birth through technology. That's the way I want to put it. And there's so many platforms, YouTube, you know, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and there's going to be so many more as we move deeper and deeper into this century. All right, Sagittarius, that's it for me. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, starting to feel like a revolutionary astrologer. I am available for readings. If you'd like to book one, my information is below, and I will be back next month in April, where it's going to be action-packed. Thanks so much. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and have a lovely, lovely March.